Hey, good morning. Morning. I'm tired. What's up, Georgia? Christina, Sly Angel, Sassy Birth, Cindy, True Texan. All right. How you guys doing today? Sorry I didn't go live last night. I was working on the website, which is going to put me into an early grave. I promise. Yeah, you're pretty behind, Barbara. Couple things I want to say. I called my oncologist again today. And I got really excited because I didn't get that stupid machine that says we're closed, but it just rang and nobody answered. Okay. So then I call again and I got the same thing. I'm like, all right, there's hope here. Sure enough, I call back 20 minutes later and I get, this is so-and-so cancer center. We're closed. Fuck. So yeah, I've written it off till Monday. There's no reason they should still be closed, but I am like freaking out. I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, whatever. No reason why she couldn't call. Dane, I made you a burrito, a breakfast burrito. Huh? If you didn't eat already, I made you a breakfast burrito. The hot dog thingies. What hot dog? The fucking pigs in a blanket. The weather isn't still bad here, but the roads are still icy. And like school was off all week. Everything's been off all week. I think they kind of just like said, fuck it, we're done for a week because everything has been closed. I know, right, Sly Angel? I go out of my way and make him a nice breakfast burrito, and he has leftover pigs in a blanket. Typical teenager. So I know you guys are all going to be jelly. I have like 7, 16-year-old boys staying here tomorrow night. I know you guys are all jelly. I can't even imagine how much food they're all going to eat. All right, last order of business before we get started is thank you, Georgia. That is my feeling. They should have called me regardless. Okay, now, last order of business. There's a lot of candles out there that need to be mailed. And I am so sorry that I could not get out of the house for a week. They are coming. I am mailing everybody's except for the last few that I'm waiting on an order from. The people that have gift sets out there, and I know there's people that order gift sets that aren't on YouTube, but for my people on YouTube, I ordered them on the 11th. I am still waiting for the vessels for them. I tracked it. They sent it out on the 12th. According to UPS, they have no, it's on its way. It's all it says. Label created and on its way due to weather. So my manufacturer, this one manufacturer is in California. I don't know what the weather has to do with here. However, that's how long this is taking. So I truly apologize for anybody with orders currently out. I am sending everybody free stuff because it is taking so long, and I do apologize. I couldn't get out of the house. Orders that were sent 2 weeks ago are still not at their destination. So again, I have no control over Mother Nature. So I do apologize. If you have an order in that should have been mailed out last week, that is now being mailed out Monday. So again, I absolutely apologize. I have no control over the weather or the fact I couldn't get out of the house. So, okay, but at least you know they're going to be cured as fuck. All right, so let's get into this. Anyone have any questions before I start? Oh, good recommendation on Lifetime. Mary Bailey story. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. I caught it last night on, absolutely, Barbara. I caught it last night on Lifetime. This 11-year-old was coerced to killing her abusive stepdad by the mom. And it's I don't want to tell you guys the whole story, but an interesting story. It's a true story. So you can read all about it. 11-year-old Mary Bailey. Check it out. It's a good watch. Thank you, Sly. All right, so let's get into this. I'll give you guys a little background in case you're new to the case, you don't know what's going on. On January 8th, deputy sheriff was called to go pick up someone at the hospital in Washington County, Missouri, and bring her home. It was at 11 o'clock at night. I have the dispatch call, by the way. It was at 11 o'clock at night, and a female deputy sheriff went and picked up this woman, mentally ill, just had surgery, former addict, and happened to drive her allegedly home. This woman got out of the car at allegedly what she thought was the end of her brother's driveway. The next day, a neighbor said they found her bag. They gave it to the police. Nobody had heard from her. Nobody had seen her. There were no tracks. She wasn't on any trail cam, nothing. She then disappeared into thin air. But her medication, her medical records, everything was in this duffel bag that was turned over. And it was found pretty close to where the cop dropped her off. The deputy dropped her off. And, oh my God, something just hit me. Hang on, let me give you guys background first. And where, near where the deputy dropped her off, and on January 16th, they found her body on someone's property that they were doing a search warrant for. And there she was, deceased. The autopsy is happening today. On the 17th, they made an arrest of a guy who lives at, all right, the cop dropped her off at 10,000, I forgot the name of the road, whatever road, Shirley something road. And this guy lived at 10,040 Shirley something road. So he was pretty close to where she was dropped off. It is alleged, there's talk going on that her body may have been undressed. I'll put it like that. That's speculation and rumor. I have not confirmed that with anybody. Shirley School Road, thank you. I did briefly speak with the brother yesterday, Donna's brother, who is, wants to speak about everything. Just, wait till the funeral's over, give him some time. Totally understand. I just thought of something, though, that makes sense. I have a lot of different theories about this, but let me just tell you what popped up in my mind. What if, now remember, she's mentally ill, but she's from the area. She lives in the area. What if the guy who killed her, the one that was arrested, picked her up from the sheriff? So the sheriff drops her up. She gets out of the car. She says it's okay to go in with that guy. The sheriff, not knowing the guy's going to kill her, thinking that it's a neighbor. And she gets in the car with this other guy, and that's when he kills her. I don't know if I'm explaining this the way it's playing out in my head. So let me try this one more time. They all live in the area. They all know the area. So it's not like my neighbor, down the road, I wouldn't know who they are. But this is a very small, tight-knit community to the point that they don't have taxis, they don't have, barely have any Ubers. So I wonder, seriously wonder if that's what happened. Is that the guy maybe pulled over, or the guy saw the sheriff? What are you doing around here? Is everything okay? Whatever, like they do in these small towns, even though it's like in the woods. But they asked the local sheriff, hey, what are you doing around here? Maybe the sheriff said, I'm bringing so and so to her home. Oh, don't worry about that, officer. I'll do that. I know who she is. I know where she's going. The sheriff is never going to tell anybody that. She can't. The guy killed her. So the sheriff's just going to say, dropped her off. This could be a missing piece, like for real. This can totally be a missing piece that nobody's got. Hold on. Where's Katie? I got to get my girl Katie in here. Hold on. All right.
Mom, what kind of spray should I use for like my nightstand and stuff? Like wood.
Use wood spray?
I know, but like, do we have wood spray?
Yeah, it's underneath the sink. So I'm thinking, like seriously thinking, that that's what happened. That the sheriff told the police officer, don't worry, I'll take you to her brother's. Police officer, okay, fine, that's fine. I'm cool with that. And she gets out of the car, jumps in the other car. And boom, boom. I think that's what happened. Because now let's piece that together, connect the dots. The guy was seen on the trail cam about 30 minutes later. That could easily happen from him tossing the bag out. My other theory this morning was possible that she was doing drugs with him and knew who he was. Because where was her body for 8 days? Before they found her. And then all of a sudden they found her on the property once they really started looking. So I have this overriding feeling right now that this guy spoke to the cop. And that's why this deputy let her out with no jacket and didn't leave her in the middle of the night. The problem is she can't tell anyone that. That's on her. I don't know why this hit me like a ton of bricks, but it just did. So this guy that they arrested, let me get everything. Hold on. I'm telling you guys, I think that's what happened. They found her on the killer's, I think it was on the killer's property or the guy next door. Oh, don't even start. Hold on. Bear with me. He's a Maltese. Bonnie, she's been I'll email you. She's going through some health issues. I'll email you and tell you what's going on. That's why it makes Missouri. That's why it makes perfect sense that that guy saw the cop drop her off or said, "I'll take her." Otherwise, I can't have a reasonable explanation why the cop dropped her off in the middle of nowhere. It just doesn't make sense. There's nothing in my mind that can conclude that. That makes sense. It makes perfect sense of how this guy got her. Okay, so Katie, where are you? Katie, I have a theory, a big theory, but you live there, so I need your help in this. Where you at? She said she's in, but I don't see her. There you are. Okay. Katie, I have a theory. How well...
Just months after the state started restricting...
How well does everyone know each other there? If a cop is driving down the road and at 12 o'clock at night, is it normal that one of the locals, especially a drug addict, would say, "Hey, what are you doing around here?" Or, "Are you lost? Where are you going?" Something. So my theory is this guy saw the cop, stopped the cop. "Hey, what are you doing?" "Oh, I'm driving her home." "Oh, don't worry. I know where her brother is. I live right there. I'll take her." And then killed her. It makes perfect sense why the cop dropped her off in the middle of nowhere. And honestly, it's the only explanation I have of why the cop dropped her off in the middle of nowhere. It just makes perfect sense. And the cop can't tell anyone that because she would get in a lot of trouble. Like, a cop can't just leave somebody with someone else, especially now that she was found dead or missing. To me, it makes absolute perfect sense. And I know when I lived in Iowa and we lived in a town called Charlotte, everybody knew each other. And it would be no problem for one person to, pull over a cop and say, "Hey, what's going on?" "Oh, don't worry. I'll take him home. I got him." I'm getting to that, Yarn. Chill out, Yarn. No. So the guy that they arrested.
Hey, Mom.
Yes, Dayton.
My room's done. I just need you to vacuum it.
What?
My room's done. I just need you to vacuum it and stuff.
Okay. What? The autopsy is being done today. They have arrested someone. This is who they arrested. That's who they arrested. David Kleekamp. He was arrested at 7:42 p.m. on 117. He's 41 years old. She was 44. 5'10", 215. Black hair, brown eyes. Now, his charges, though, are just drug related. Everything is drug related. They can't hold him on this yet. So they're holding him just for drug related charges. Unlawful use of a weapon, possession in second, drug paraphernalia, expired plates, operating motor vehicle without maintaining financial responsibility, operate motor vehicle without maintaining financial responsibility. I don't know how you get two for the same thing. resisting arrest, and failed to yield to emergency vehicle sounding audible siren signal display lighted visible. I'm telling you, it makes perfect sense. Do they do that though? Like, would it be normal for somebody to see a cop at 12 o'clock at night and say, "What are you doing?" See, but Evil Queen, does it really have to be timing, or was this guy just driving home? That we don't know, Bunny. He could have just been driving home. Or got nervous. Now, mind you, this is a meth head. There's other stuff. I don't know how they were connected. That I don't have the answers to. But where was she for 8 days? So my other theory was that she is a drug addict. She is, an ex-drug addict, recovered drug addict. Maybe she knew him and was going to get high with him. Maybe they saw each other. Maybe she called him. I don't know. And a lot of those answers we'll never know. Well, then again, she probably couldn't have called him because she didn't have a phone. So there goes that theory. But maybe he was someone she used to get high with. I don't know if he's married. Katie, do you know if he's married? So someone on the county sheriff, and I want to thank Katie, she sent me all this stuff this morning, wrote, "That is not true. Family did know she was being discharged, and a brain surgery was 6 months ago. The hospital was the one who discharged her. She was in her right mind to make decisions. You cannot hold someone against their will. If they want to be taken somewhere and wants to be let go, you have to comply. If not, you're holding that person hostage. I think people need to focus on prayers for the lady instead of bashing law enforcement. There will be answers from the sheriff as soon as it's available." Haley says, "I've heard from multiple credible sources that the family was not aware she was being discharged. They were under the assumption she was being admitted." Oh, I think he absolutely did know her. I don't personally know any of the individuals involved, but you live over there. Like, that, hey, Allie, that it's normal that someone would, see a cop driving at 2 o'clock in the morning and be like, "Hey, why are you here? Is everything all right? Do you need anything?" Especially if he was doing drugs. He's going to get paranoid. He's going to hear a cop. He's going to want to find out why the cop was there. I can't understand any other logical reason why this woman would drop her off in the middle of nowhere unless there was someone to pick her up, unless there was someone meeting her that allowed the cop to transfer cars. The cop was on the force less than a year. She may not know this guy. She may not know he was a drug addict. She may not have cared. He lived in the area, said, "Hey, I know her. I'll take her home. Don't worry about it. I'll take her home. Do you know this guy?" "Yeah, I do." "Okay." I'm sorry. To me, it just makes perfect sense. Yes, the GPS showed exactly where she dropped her off, right around the 10,000 block of Shirley School Road, which is not the end of her brother's driveway. But that could be the excuse she gave because this guy picked her up. And let me tell you something else. Another possibility. Again, I watch a lot of Lifetime movies. But another possibility, he was heading home from somewhere. I mean, it could be anywhere, but he was heading home, saw the cop and they interacted, and maybe they couldn't both pass, something. And Cop said, "Oh, I'm driving her home." And again, he easily could have said, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'll take her home. Her brother lives right up the road." Okay. And they left. To me, it is absolutely logical. It makes perfect sense. I've heard it. I haven't got confirmation on it, Cindy. I've heard wavering stories. I've heard that it was him that got the bag. Then I heard that it was research, lookers that got the bag. So I'm not sure. Willow, that would be true if there was a house where she was dropped off. There was no house. Obviously, the deputy wasn't familiar with the area, but there was no houses where she was dropped off. And that's why I said it would make perfect sense that somebody was there to get her. That the cop interacted with this guy. And when stopped, he said, "I'll take her home. I got it." I don't know why this keeps playing in my mind over and over and over, that is what happened. Call it intuition, call it instinct, call it psychic ability. I don't know. But it just keeps playing over and over and over that the cop and the cop and him cross paths. Somehow, some way, they cross paths. And he told the cop he would take her, and she said, "Fine." Why the cop did that, I don't know. But to me, and maybe because I'm blue friendly, I am giving cops way too much credit, but I do think it's very, very possible, more than likely how it happened, that's where that's where their path crossed. Because if you take it one step further, I also can't imagine why a cop would want her dead. Like, why would a cop want to kill her? Because I've thought about that too. Winston, stop. He doesn't want to play with you. This dog never barks except when I'm live. He's like a child. Come here. Come here. I swear he's like a child. The child that's always talking to you when you're on your phone. Wants to talk to you when you're on the phone. That's his dog. Come here. You little rugrat. Come here. Come here. Oh, no, now I'm going to hold you. Ugh. You are like a child. You really are. You're like a little child. Okay. That roses, that's true as well. But the guy was also a drug addict. So it's very possible that, no, I don't think she died of natural causes. She was gone for days. The cop is absolutely negligent. 100%. Any way you slice it, totally negligent. And so is a hospital. Put that aside, though. There's still so many questions remaining. Did she know him? Did she do drugs with him? Did she hurt him? Did they ever date? Did he have a crush on her? There's so many questions. So many questions. And there are police officers that are serial killers. Call me crazy, but I don't see this female doing it. I don't know why. I just don't. It is a very strange case, Patridge. Very strange. Everything about it is weird. Like everything. Okay. This is the brother's house or where she was found, Katie? It could have been an unexpected opportunity. Or, and I wouldn't say this to the family, this is just a thought, but a possibility. It's possible that they did drugs together. It's possible. I mean, they did say she was on Suboxone. Maybe they used to party together. Okay, this was the guy's house that was arrested. Thank you. How clean was she? Did she have a relapse because of the brain injury? Is it possible that they were doing drugs for a couple of days together and then something happened and he killed her? I don't know. I just don't know. Donna lived in an area when she was in high school. There's several people that have said they knew her from school. So there's a good chance that this guy went to that high school too, even though he was a couple of years younger, right? No, I'm holding you, mister. You're not getting down because all you're going to do is bark a buka. Nope, you're staying with me. You're staying with me. I'll put you on camera. You can say, hi, everyone. I'm the barker. Oh, my God, Mercury. I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to say this again. I left Krama. Go away. I don't care what they talk about. I don't care what they do. Just leave my name out of it. That's it. Bye. Right, Pookie? Does the guy have an arrest warrant? Yes. The guy's a drug addict. Yarn, I don't blame you. I couldn't live like that either. I remember Brad used to want me to move to the country. I was like, oh, hell no. I'm not living in a farmhouse. And whenever me and Dayton have to go, on a long drive, I'm like, Dad would live there. Dad would live there. He's like, oh, Daddy would have loved to live there. I said, yeah, I know. Not me. Give me neighbors. I need neighbors. This was in Missouri. But that is my other question. Where did she go for 8 days? Why all of a sudden did they find her 8 days later? Thank you, Eva Queen. Why did they find her 8 days later? Were they doing drugs? Were they partying? Did he hide her somewhere? See, Allie, here is my thought. Hey, Kendra, for those of you that came in late, let me give you my theory again. Here's what we know, okay? We know the cop dropped her off in the middle of nowhere. We know the cop did not know who she was. We know she was found on the 17th when she went missing on the 8th. There's a lot of days that are missing. So where was she? We also know that this guy was found on camera 30 minutes after she was dropped off. She was never caught on camera. I don't believe the cop car was ever caught on camera. The brother said she knew the address. So based on the facts, I have a strong suspicion, instinct, that this guy and the cop crossed paths. The cop may not have known where she was going. Maybe even stopped to ask this guy where this area was. That's even better. The cop may have been lost. I don't know if everyone knows the trails or the backwoods, if she's been only on the force for a year. So the cop, and it's dark and it's icy, and she's female, and I'm sorry, but us females, we're not as good at drivers. So she may have asked the guy who was driving, hey, where's this house. Guy may have seen Donna in the back. Oh, her brother's right up the road. I'll bring her. Don't worry about it. Get out of here. The ice storm, whatever. Cop may have looked back at Donna and said, hey, do you know this guy? And the guy said, yep. Yeah, I know him. That's fine. Sorry, Kate. And they switch cars. The cop drives off thinking that this guy is going to get her to the right place. And again, the cop cannot tell anybody that she let this guy take him home, because then it's an automatic lawsuit. There's no getting out of it. So I am convinced, and the more I think about my theory, the more it makes perfect sense. It just makes perfect sense. And I don't know why I can't get this out of my mind. And I sit there and I'm like, that's it. That's it. That's possible, Meg, that maybe she lied and said it was her brother. She didn't have her medication. She didn't have anything. But where was she for 8 days? That's the other half. Where did she go for 8 days? The guy is being charged with drugs, and he's being charged with resisting arrest, that kind of stuff. Nothing to do with her murder yet. But her body was found on his property. Now, Katie heard through the grapevine, again, no confirmation that she may have been naked. Oh my God. That she may have been naked. So it's very possible that they were doing drugs. Possible. Not likely, possible. If it's on Facebook, it must be true. No, I'm just kidding. Naked is normal for someone that ties with hypothermia. See, I keep hearing that, but I don't see how you would be hot if you're freezing to death. But I don't know much about that. The cop has not been fired at all. Because again, the cop hasn't admitted to doing any wrongdoing. The cop has stated, and there's no way to disprove it, that the cop let her off at the end of the driveway. My opinion is the cop can easily get out of that by saying she called it in. It was dark. She didn't know. But either way, I can't see a cop do it. I can't see a human being doing that. I can't see any red-blooded American so heartless that you pick someone up from the hospital and drop them off in the middle of the forest with no coat and like no shoes. And she could barely walk. You knew she could barely walk from when you picked her up at the hospital. Obviously, you would have had to know that. Therefore, the only logical explanation is that the missing piece that I have been looking for 2-3 days already is what I believe I just found. I think they met, and all the cop did was transfer the car. Now, if the FBI gets involved and there's a heavy investigation going on, it may come out. Or the guy, once he's charged, may come out and tell the truth. Yeah, but her clothes would have been found next to her then, wouldn't they have? So Fluffer now jumps back on the bed, goes over to Abuka, starts kissing his face, and Buka hasn't moved. Here we go. Now it's going to start barking. I thought we were calm. Hey, Buka, why did he do this to you? Why did he do this to you? You just want to be left alone. I know. I don't get it either, Buka. I know. My poor Buki. Yeah, but clothes, they would have found clothes. They haven't said anything about finding any clothes. I don't even know what Winston wants from him. I really don't. By the way, Fluffer and Winston is the same person, for anyone that gets confused. Same Maltese. Then I have a 100-pound mammoth Newfoundland and Retriever mix who Fluffer thinks he's the boss of, right? He thinks he owns you. He don't own you. I'm sitting on something that's going right in my butt. Right, Yarn? It's for real. What? I wish I could show everyone your face right now. You're so cute, Buki. Mwah. All right. Yes, it was a county hospital. Her clothes would be scattered. That's what I'm saying, sweet one. Her clothes would be all over the place. They would be scattered. They would have found something. But again, all of a sudden, this guy comes over to the squad, the investigators. Oh, our neighbor has a body next door. Oh, okay. Out of nowhere. So that's what at first made me believe they were getting high together. And then again, it's very possible. What is going into me? It's very possible that what started out innocently, where he really was going to take her home, maybe he enticed her with drugs. You never know what's going to cause someone to kill someone. It could be, no, they still haven't had a press conference. It's possible that it's a crime of passion. It's possible that there were drugs involved. It's possible that someone just went off the deep end because they were drunk. I mean, you never know why someone's going to kill someone. But this guy doesn't have a record of being violent, from what I understand. It's all, yes, it's only rumor that she was naked. It's not confirmed. So, what am I sitting on? Do you ever have something dig into you and you can't find it? So what if he didn't have intention of killing her? And he really at first had good intention. And then she said, hey, you want to do drugs together? Hey, do you get high? She may have said, sure. Now, they did say that her meds were found in her bag. Like someone else said, we don't know what meds were found in her bag. Was it her Suboxone? Was it, anxiety pills? Was it heart blood medication? We don't know. Can I kill him? Can I seriously kill him, Buka? I know. I hear you. I hear you, bud. I hear you. Winston, stop! She has mental health issues and she's an ex-addict. I don't know how long she's been clean. None of us know. Like, it hasn't been said how long she's been clean. It's not something I'm going to ask her brother right away. She was not barefoot. Oh, that's right. She had the Hey Dude shoes on. You're right. But she had no jacket. She could have OD'd. That's possible too. But why not report her immediately? You know what I mean? Why not just report that, oh my God, this person OD'd? I don't know, something. But again, he may have had the best intention. I'm giving him credit, but he may have had the best intentions originally. And then something went wrong. They said that she used to do drugs, that she was on Suboxone. And the Suboxone didn't work too well with her brain surgery or with her current medication. Now, when I was using cocaine, and for anyone in here that happens to be new or listening that's new, I'm a recovering addict. I've been sober since 2008, but I don't want anyone to think I'm downing a drug addict or I'm saying, it's something wrong with being a drug addict. I'm very proud that I'm an addict. It makes me who I am. And I just choose not to do drugs. So when I talk about her being an addict, I absolutely do not mean it in a negative way. And I don't want anyone to think I'm putting a negative connotation on or a spin on it, because I'm absolutely not. Quite the opposite, just trying to figure it out. So, we don't know how long she's been sober. Could she have just been sober recently? Could she have been sober for 10 years? I don't know much about Suboxone, but I do know that if I was only sober 4 months and I'm late and I don't feel good and I just got out of the hospital and someone said to me, hey, you want to get high? Sure, let's go. Without even thinking twice about it. I don't think my parents would have told people that I was a drug addict at the time, but you know what I'm saying? Like, we just don't know. So I wonder if something innocent could have turned deadly. But again, we'll never get the whole truth because one of the people involved cannot tell it. So we're only going to get someone else's story. Will they say the truth of how she died? I don't know. Maybe they won't. Maybe they won't say. Maybe they, autopsies are known to be messed up. Okay. I had experienced Suboxone and surgery. It's a medically induced relapse. That's why I fully believe drugs are involved. Aha. Yeah, I would have too, Kendra, especially if I knew the person. If I knew that somebody was a known addict. Stop. Stop. And I've just seen it one too many times. See, they say Suboxone can't get you high, but I've listened to people that were live, that go live on YouTube that use Suboxone, and they sound high as fuck. Hang on, let me let them out. Come on, boo. Come on. Let's go. He barks for you. He wants you to go out in the cold, but he doesn't want to go. You know what? Don't let him boss you around. Don't let him boss you around. Say, hell no, we won't go. Say, hell no, we're not going. I swear, he barks so Buka will go out, not him. I'm sorry, guys. Every time I go live, his dog doesn't stop. We're going to ship him to Long Island. Okay. Yeah, see, that's it. I don't know anything about Suboxone. But if Suboxone is an automatic relapse, then that makes even more sense. So here's some information on the guy that was arrested. This is from my favorite journalist out there. Yes, Allie, I do. Here is the link. I don't know how anybody does downers, heroin, Suboxone. Why you want to be all bad? I'm much more speedy. Suboxone cures withdrawal quickly. You can be free from withdrawal in minutes. I'm not, Allie. Just make sure your camera's off. Suboxone, naloxone for almost a decade. Kind of pitch in your voice that makes them bark, or maybe thinks you're talking to you. I don't know. I know I've had on some YouTube channels and they're like loud, and he like looks and he runs. I hope he wasn't holding her hostage. Was it hostage? Because remember, her bag was found the next day. So while I'm waiting for Allie, let's go through this. So the update says a person arrested yesterday very nearby where Donna went missing did have his home surrounded by police yesterday, as well as his front door kicked in. He was arrested by Missouri State Police. Hey.
Hey, am I too loud?
Nope, you're perfect.
Okay, cool. So, with Suboxone,
Yes.
when you go in to have surgery, so they make you so you cannot have an opioid in your body within at least 12 hours of Suboxone, because there's a drug in it called naloxone, which blocks the opioid, so it puts you into instant withdrawal. The problem with that is that the reason when I was on Suboxone, the reason I took it is because addicts can't stand to be uncomfortable, and the withdrawal that you get is massive. It's like, full blown, almost immediately. So generally going into the surgery, like when I went into my surgery, I didn't wait 12 hours. I think I waited like 7 hours. And then they just end up having to, to put you to sleep, they end up having to just like put way more drugs, kind of overload your opioid receptors.
Okay.
But long story short is when you come out of surgery, they still have to give you opioids for pain. So, blocking the opioid receptors with naloxone and filling them with that Suboxone is not going to do anything for pain. So basically you have they've medically relapsed her, right? Because they've put her back on her drug. They put her back on opioids. But even today, and my experience was almost 20 years ago, but even today, doctors, they typical doctors, surgeons, hospitals, they don't know a lot about Suboxone. And I mean, I guess it's kind of not their job to help somebody in recovery stay in recovery. So they just kind of like to figure it out on your own. When your pain meds run out, you got to figure it out. Well, again, because the addict mentality is, until we work the steps, like, we can't deal with being uncomfortable. Suboxone just keeps you from, throwing up and shitting yourself and feeling terrible. It does nothing for your addict mentality. So generally,
Suboxone, and this is the best way I can put it, Suboxone is like the Adderall for heroin addicts. Adderall is the same, it does the same thing as Suboxone, but for speedheads and meth heads and coke heads.
Exactly.
So Suboxone is the Adderall for heroin addicts or opioid addicts. Right?
Exactly. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
And it's so basically, like, when the opioids run out, generally, like I did this too. I couldn't wait the full 12 hours before I took my first dose of Suboxone because I was so, I was feeling withdrawal already. And so I took the Suboxone and I went into massive withdrawal and so sick because I had like a week of opioids on board for episodes. It makes you out of your mind and very, very sick. So that could have been her experience of why she was in the hospital. When she went to the hospital, she might have been having these complications, and the emergency room is not going to help you with that. They're not going to give you more opioids, and there's nothing they can do to treat you except maybe give you like saline, hydrate you, but they're not going to make you more comfortable. So I guess that's kind of where my mind is going, like, and I don't, I've went through this experience, experience like that myself. I don't judge her at all, but it just makes her so vulnerable to just using again, because here's the other complication. When you have Suboxone in your body, yes, it will put you into withdrawal, but you can force that withdrawal out of your body with enough opioids, but you're taking like 10 times the amount.
Okay.
So if you've had a period of on them, stable on them, off them, then you took Suboxone, then you're trying to get your body out of the withdrawal that the Suboxone gave you by putting more opioids in your body,
Okay.
you can very easily put OD. And because Narcan and naloxone are pretty much the same drug. And when you do that to yourself, because your opioid receptors can only fit so much, and that naloxone that blocks it, once you've kind of overdosed it, right? Like made it so that it can't block any more opioids, and you overdose, then you try to bring Narcan in the picture, because a lot of addicts these days do carry Narcan. I mean, it could be as simple as like, maybe even this guy did give her Narcan, but it's over. Like once you get to a certain point, you're trying to make yourself comfortable again. Maybe you want to get high. It's done. Your body's not coming back.
Call me dumb because I don't know this. I always thought Narcan was the stuff that if you OD, it wakes you up. I'm wrong?
So it does. So it does instantly get your body going, because it instantly blocks those opioids from your receptors.
Okay.
So it instantly puts you in withdrawal. So people if you've ever seen somebody get administered Narcan, they are not happy when they wake up. Because they're instantly in withdrawal. Yeah.
So that is what they do, though. Like if someone ODs, they'll get them Narcan and then they're fine. Okay.
Yep. They're going to feel terrible, but yeah, so it can bring you right back, because it blocks the receptors. And naloxone is basically like taking a little bit of Narcan every day, just enough so that those receptors are blocked, so you can't use. But then also the buprenorphine part of, so Suboxone is buprenorphine and naloxone. The buprenorphine is the part that makes you feel normal, stable. But it is, you were saying before about how you've seen people that get high. You can definitely take more buprenorphine than you should and get high. And there's tricks with Xanax. People that take Suboxone there's tricks, that people use to abuse even even Suboxone.
Let me also state for the record, this is Allie's experience with the drug and what she knows about the drug from her own personal experience.
Yeah, this is just my experience. I'm not a nurse or anything.
Not a doctor. She's not a nurse. We're not having a discussion on drugs. I had asked her to come up to explain that side of drugs, because I know nothing about that side of drugs. So everything that you hear today is on personal experience, and me saying, no doctors or pharmacists is going to say, yeah, Adderall is the Suboxone for cokeheads. I'm just saying it in layman's terms that everyone can understand. So
maintenance. It's maintenance. Yeah. Yeah, totally. So that's just, I just wanted to kind of, again, offer my experience and, what I've been through. That's why when, the whole details around her having surgery and stuff, I'm thinking, oh man, she very likely was really suffering in her addiction, whether she had worked the steps or not. It really is a painful, nightmarish experience that you're not prepared for. I wasn't prepared for it. I just had a lot of support to not relapse after it. So, yeah.
But all right, see, here's my other question. I know whether it be a food addiction, whether it be a cocaine addiction, it's mental. I've never been addicted to anything that's physical. So everything that I know of is always mental, and it's mind over matter. But you're like, you wanting, like when Dayton has to have, something that he likes. When I, used to do drugs, and Dayton's dad, when he used to do drugs, it was like, it was a whole mental thing. So my question is, when you're saying that, Suboxone makes you feel better, so a heroin addict doesn't have the mental, like, problems, like no drug would take away that is in a mental addiction. Like, there's no drug that would take away me wanting what I want at that moment. And even now, so many years clean, I do that with shopping. If I need something, I can't wait till tomorrow. I have to have it now. I have to order
me
it
too.
now. That's the addict in me. So Suboxone doesn't cure that part. They only cure the physical need. But is there still a mental need?
Oh, yeah. So in my life, I was like out on my own very young, and I had I did like ecstasy and cocaine, and I had a cocaine addiction during the times in my life where I was going through puberty, and I kind of messed up my brain. And when I got clean around 16 from cocaine, I started having horrible migraines. And that's why I was put on opioids, because after like a year of doctors trying to throw everything else at me, they put me on just they just gave me way too many opioids, and I got physically addicted as a person, knowing what addiction was and that I did not want it. I went on a vacation and didn't bring my pain pills, and that's how I learned that I was addicted to opioids. And it's from that point, every day after that I was using them, I was physically addicted and mentally addicted, because you just kind of have to relent to it. And when you go on the Suboxone, that's just why opioids and heroin and stuff are so dangerous, because it's like you take that feeling of when, the day you look in the mirror and you're like, okay, cocaine is going to kill me. And then you stop and you might feel like crap, but you don't feel like you're dying necessarily. With opioid withdrawal, you can't sleep. Like when I ended up finally detoxing, even off Suboxone, I did not sleep for 30 days. I'm telling you, I did not sleep. And I thought I was going crazy. And everybody has to walk through that while walking through the steps to get clean. So it's like, it's just gnarly. It's gnarly. So that's why so many people lose their life to it, because you really kind of do have to go through unimaginable suffering, body, mind, and spirit to get past it. So yeah. So that's why I hold no judgment towards anybody dealing with addiction, period. It's a disease. Like you said, I'm an addict.
Yeah.
I can get addicted to everything. When I was a runner, I ended up running myself into having to have knee surgery because I couldn't stop. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just anything. It's just how my brain works. I have one child that way, and I parent her quite differently than I do my other. And I'm very honest with her about it.
Absolutely. I said that people thought I was crazy with Dayton, and I told Dayton when he was 12 or 13. Yeah, he's 16 now. 12 or 13. I sat down with him and I said, I fully understand. We were driving home from Iowa and he had gained like 30 pounds that summer. And I said, you're an addict. Right now it's food. But let's explain addiction. I said, it's not your fault. It's mine and your dad's fault. We're both addicts. We pass down the gene to you. But what you choose to do with your addiction, that's your choices. I can't make you choose or not choose. You have to be able to choose. But just know, don't be ashamed that you're an addict. I am proud to be an addict. It's who I am. Don't ever feel that shame. That will make you eat more. That will make you make bad choices. It's what kept me in addiction for so long. What kept his father in addiction till the day he died. Was that shame. And I said, don't ever feel shame that you're an addict. Be proud you're an addict, but make the right choices. You don't have to make bad choices just because you're an addict. And I have this conversation with him every so often, but that to me is where it starts, is taking responsibility for your choices, but know that it is a disease and it's not your fault that we made you, chemically imbalanced, and that's our fault.
Yep, absolutely. That's what I'll say it all the time. I have a problem with impulse control. Anything I want it right now. And but there's a lot of good things. There's a lot of good things about me that kind of stem from that. I don't give up. You know what I mean? So
anxious as fuck. I agree.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah. So for anybody listening, I don't remember this woman's name. Is it Donna?
Nicolina?
No, the woman that passed away. What is the?
Oh, Donna.
So my heart absolutely goes out for her, and me, saying my instinct is that drugs have something possibly to do with it. I mean, absolutely no disrespect at all. Yeah,
I agree. Totally agree with that. That was my first thought until the whole thing hit me that they may have crossed paths, and that's why the cop dropped her off and where she was for 8 days. It's just
weird.
So many factors. But Allie, I want to thank you so much for explaining this. You could stay on panel. You don't have to get off. What's up, Nicolina?
I'm going to drop down, but thank you so much for having me up.
I love you.
All right, love you too. Bye.
Nicolina is a nurse.
Nope. I went to nursing school.
Nursing school has an amazing story, by the way, that I learned recently.
I'm a certified clinical research associate. So I still work in the healthcare industry, except for I work on the side of clinical trials with investigational products that have not yet been approved by the FDA.
Okay.
So that's what I do.
Do you guys know Nicolina's story, by the way, of why she's not a nurse? Can you tell it real fast? Do you mind?
Oh yeah, sure. Okay. Well, I went.
Very admirable.
I went into nursing school in 2013. The first time I applied, I was accepted. I started my first semester, which is geriatric care. You're learning your head to toe assessments, etc. During halfway through my first semester, there was an issue where one of the students was making very homophobic comments and using her religion to justify her beliefs, which I will respect anyone's beliefs as long as it doesn't affect their ability to do their job. And during that time when she was making these comments, we were actually at our clinical site. And I told her it was very inappropriate that as a nurse, we can't be biased towards lifestyles, right? So I explained to her, you're going to have to treat people that are, gay, lesbian, trans, and that really isn't something that you can take into the workplace. So I ended up getting in trouble for that. At the end of the semester, I was pulled aside by the director of nursing and I was forced into a behavioral contract because that was considered harassment, which I was not rude. I was very professional, and I felt it was very unprofessional of this student to have those opinions. So this behavioral contract made it to where if I even looked at someone wrong, I could be kicked out of the program. And mind you, I'm an A student and I'm a mother of 4 children who got into nursing school because of my grades and my nursing entrance exam. So the 3rd semester, which I was only like 16 weeks from graduation. I was doing my pediatric obstetrics rotation, and during the pediatric rotation, we would do a post-clinical conference at the end of the clinical day to discuss different things that we learned, any questions, whatever it was that we had to learn for that week, the learning outcomes. So the nursing instructor came up and she started talking about vaccinations and that the job of the nurse is to educate and vaccinate. And there's a bunch of different metrics that go into this that are kind of like requirements for hospitals and doctor's office. It's part of MIPS that they want to have 100%, close to 100% compliance for vaccination. Now, if your child is sick enough to be admitted into the hospital, usually they're not well enough to undergo vaccines. So that was brought up. And then the topic that I brought up is what happens if a parent declines the vaccine? Because I'm all for it. If you wanna decline a vaccine, if you don't want to vaccinate your children, I support that. If you want to fully vaccinate your children, I support that as well. Anyway, so she was pretty much telling us that if a family denied vaccinating their children prior to being discharged from the hospital, and if they had Medicaid, we were to tell them that if they didn't get the vaccinations for their children, that they would lose their Medicaid benefits and be responsible for the hospital stay. So that is where I spoke up and said that is absolutely untrue. You cannot force informed consent. You cannot coerce a patient with the financial loss in order for them to comply. That is an ethical violation. It's actually a legal it's illegal in the state of Michigan. We actually have informed consent laws on the books. And she did not like me correcting her. I explained to her that anytime anyone goes in for a surgical procedure, you have to sign informed consent because there are dangers associated with a surgical procedure. There is informed consent for anesthesia because there is a risk of death or major injury. Same with vaccines. That's why we have to obtain informed consent, because vaccines can lead to permanent damage and or up to death. So that discussion with her and explaining to her that there is nothing located within any of the rules for Medicaid, that falls under CMS, which each state has their own Department of Health and Human Services for rules regarding Medicaid. So I got kicked out of nursing school for correcting the instructor for teaching the students to lie and force coercion of an intervention such as a vaccine. So I went so I got dismissed from the program. Thankfully, I voice recorded both of the meetings, the very first meeting on the behavioral contract and the dismissal meeting. And because I was attending a private college, you don't have the same protections as you do a public university, which a public university, I would have been protected under the First Amendment. So we filed a lawsuit in the state of Michigan. It was a first impression case to which I won at the circuit court level. Yeah, thank you, Pendar. I won at the circuit court level on its merit, but I did not get the compensation that I was seeking. I was seeking to have all of my the money that I had paid out in student loans, earning potential capacity, because my plan, it wasn't a matter of if I was going to graduate, because I was an A student. I had plans on becoming a nurse practitioner of midwifery. I wanted to deliver babies, empower women and their bodies to do safe birthing versus the medical industry, the business of being born. If you haven't watched that documentary by Ricky Lake, it is fantastic. So we had to appeal the financial aspect of that. So what we did is we took it to the Michigan Court of Appeals. I won. The college then took it to the Michigan State Supreme Court, where I still won. I still didn't get what I wanted. I did not get what I wanted. It did not make me whole. But what it did do is allow other students of private colleges in the state of Michigan to file lawsuits for being dismissed over ridiculous issues and not being given the chance to appeal the choice or the decision made by that department of the college. My lawsuit, I believe it is Bruff versus Baker College. You can find the story with the original pleadings. If you type in Nicole Bruff, health impact news, that story is there. They were also trying to teach us that if a pregnant woman came in to give birth, that if the father was not vaccinated with DTaP, which is diphtheria, tetanus, and acellular pertussis, that the father couldn't be in the labor and delivery room. And I spoke up during that point and said, that absolutely is not true. And they were trying to explain, well, no, it is. And if they're not vaccinated, then we are to vaccinate the father. And I said, well, where is the empirical evidence that supports that? That is not evidence-based. If I vaccine the father the minute they walk into the OB, the labor and delivery floor, that father or partner, they will not have any antibodies or immunities built. It takes up between 2 and 6 weeks. So it's just asinine the way they were pushing people into, if you don't get this vaccine, you can't be with your partner while they're giving birth. And then the same for parents with pediatrics being discharged that had Medicaid. So yeah, I stood up. This was in 2013. My case, gosh, I can't even remember when it finally was completed all the way through the Michigan Supreme Court. I think 2020 or 2021. That's how long it took. It is a personal choice. Nobody should be able to push anybody into getting anything put into their body unless they say yes. Look at what has happened with the C vaccine.
I agree. And also, it's now the C vaccines being linked to breast cancer. That's what my cancer place told me.
And heart attacks, heart damage, cardiomyopathy, strokes, yeah.
Real quick,
Yes.
what I wanted to tell you that I hadn't had a chance to tell you, like on a live, my son, and I've told this story for a long time. I have a son with very high functioning Asperger's. To this day, he's a normal kid. Like I don't want to say he's grown out of it, but he hasn't. But he's just, he's matured and a lot of his little quirks are gone. And he's in a top-notch college and thriving beautifully. But when he was very little, when they were babies, because they're twins, when they were babies, I watched in Florida 2 nurses come in with 4 needles apiece and jab their legs. I looked at my mother. I said, never again. I will never give them these shots again. And they cried and cried. And nurse like, no, you have to, blah, blah, blah. They were probably a month old. From that point on, I started researching vaccines. And I knew something was off with my son. I didn't know what, but I knew something was off. And he couldn't speak, and his motor skills were good, but he wasn't speaking. And I started researching, and fast forward, they're due to get the MMR shot or whatever. I said, Mom,
Yep.
I'm not doing it. I'm not giving this kid who I know something is wrong. Call it mother instinct, call it something. I'm not giving him 3 shots in one. These are live shots. She's like, no, they're not. They're dead
Yes,
shots.
they are. They're live attenuated.
Mom,
Yes, they
they're
are.
live shots. One of them is a live.
MMR and varicella. Both,
I
all
am
of
not-
those are live attenuated.
Yep. I said, I am not giving him 3 shots at once. We were living in Wisconsin at the time. Brad, Dayton's father, who Dayton wasn't a thought then, tried to convince me to do it. They were about 18 months old. I told the doctor, I'm not doing it. I said, if you want to give them 1 shot at a time, spread out, I will do that if I must. And I was on Medicaid at the time. And I said, but I'm not giving them 3 shots. Let's do 1 shot for a couple of months.
Yes.
Do another shot a couple of months later, another shot after that, if there's no reaction. To this day, I 100% believe that caused the difference between my son being where he is today and my son being full-blown autistic, for lack of a better way to say that.
Yes. So there is still a lot of research being done on autism, and I truly believe that there is a link. There is a genetic link, and there is something in these vaccines that trigger. I am not a scientist, so this is my own hypothesis. As a mother of 4, when my first kid, I went through the shots. I was young. I was just shy of 18. My second born, he was not fully vaccinated. I refused the MMR and the varicella vaccine because those are live attenuated. And it was based on, at this point, this was in 2000. So I didn't have a cell phone and active access to the internet to do research. It was my own gut intuition. And a lot of that, I believe, was because I had a nephew that is on the spectrum. And I, like you, my sister, what happened after he got his 2-month shots and how he screamed and cried and never stopped for a year. Something was definitely wrong. Something definitely changed with my nephew, Kyle. Very smart, very, very smart though. So then, by the time I was pregnant with Maggie, this is my last child. I'm 30 years old. I feel like I'm more educated. I have a better grasp on vaccines. And I made the decision. I had a midwife. When I gave birth to her, I refused the hepatitis B vaccine, the series they start at birth. There is absolutely no data to support in vaccinating an infant to a parent that is not an IV drug user, a sex worker, with hepatitis B. When hepatitis B vaccines came out, and I succinctly remember this because I was in the healthcare industry and I was just newly, I was only a couple years out of high school, but I can recall, this is why we vaccinate with hepatitis B. It's for healthcare workers, those people that are IV drug users, those that have anal sex are at greater risk. And so I had to go through the series twice because I am a non-responder. I did not respond to the hepatitis B vaccine series either time. And some people with O negative and O positive blood types do not respond and build antibodies to hepatitis B. So when Maggie was born, I was like, no, thank you. So of course my midwife isn't going to question me. She's a midwife of, she's a nurse practitioner, a doctorate at that. I allowed my daughter to see a resident who saw her in the hospital because he was a first year resident. He was focusing on pediatrics. So I literally drove 45 minutes away for all of her appointments for the first 3 years of her life because I wanted him to have that experience and I wanted him to deal with a mother like me.
Nicolina,
And,
hold on 1 second. Roses are red, exactly. Nobody is saying that all vaccines cause autism. But my feeling was, and I was right, and nobody can tell me I'm wrong, is that if I feel that my son already has something wrong and that something isn't adding up in his brain, giving him an overdose of live vaccines is not going to come out productive.
In science, listen,
there's something wrong.
Yes,
that's how
absolutely. And science will never link it and tell you that it's 100% linked because then that hurts their the pharmaceutical industry.
Yep.
So with Maggie, I did delay deny vaccines. So it was really difficult because, the medical assistants there, they were just brutal. They're like, well, we don't have these in separate vaccines. I said, yes, you do. You can order tetanus separate. You can order these separate. I'm not doing a 3-in-1 vaccine on my child. Yep. Now, I delayed her vaccines. Her first vaccine, I want to say, now I might be a little off, I think she was 8 months old when she got her very first vaccine. And no, and Mag, I have not. I'll look into it though. Within a couple of days, my daughter had her very first seizure. She, and it wasn't a febrile seizure. She did not have a fever. And it was terrifying. And I still didn't link it. In my head, I think it's because I was exhausted. I had 3 older boys. I have an 8-month-old, so I didn't link it to being being causative from the vaccine. So a couple months later, so I was doing every 2 to 3 months is my schedule that I was going to do. Her next set of vaccine, like the next 2 I got, 1 in each leg, they were separate. They were not a multi vaccine. Again, within days, my daughter does this high pitched screaming. She's like frozen and like I can see it now because the one happened when I got her into the car seat and her eyes were rolling into the back of her head and like her arms were all up. It was the scariest thing as a mother. And that is when I was like, these are directly correlated to these vaccines. So she ended up, I have a buddy who is a neurovascular surgeon out of Loyola University. I contacted him. He agreed. He got me into one of his colleagues who was a pediatric neurologist down in Farmington Hills. I'll never forget, Dr. Siva Swami got my daughter in the next day without having to wait months to get in. And she also agreed, no more vaccines for your daughter. Now, Maggie showed signs of having Asperger's. I still believe she is on the spectrum somewhat because she does at times struggle to read the room or read people and may pop off and she doesn't get it sometimes, but it was very rough. I had to be very ritualistic with her. We couldn't have any fluctuations in the schedule or the structure. She could not wear any kind of material that had jeans. This little girl would only wear dresses and tights, nothing on her legs. That was until she was about 5 when she went to leggings. And my daughter did not start wearing jeans until last year.
Girl, Phoenix used to drive me nuts with the socks. His socks couldn't have a hard seam like where the toes are. And I had to literally feel all these different socks because every time I brought home socks, he told me, no, Mom, I can't, my toes can't handle that. Phoenix, then come with me to find socks. I don't know where I'm going to find you socks then, but they had to
So-
have a very soft
Yes.
sole by
Yep.
the toe. He
Yes.
was
Yes. Same with
insane.
Maggie.
Ugh.
Same with Maggie, Laura. Like the leggings had to be a certain type of leggings that had the certain texture that only she could tolerate. So what I would do is I'd have to order them. Her father and I would order them in bulk because we were afraid, what if we couldn't find them again? Same with her socks. She could not wear anything except for like an ankle sock. Very particular about the type of shoe. She would be on sensory overload. And I'm a lot like that as well, though. And I don't know that I'm on any spectrum, but I have serious sensory issues with, I have to wear certain types of shirts. I can't wear anything that's too close to my neck. I wear a lot of tank tops because of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's not because I'm a head case. That's just how I've always been. And yep, socks without lines. Absolutely.
Everywhere I go, like I'll be like, if I'm a Goodwill, I love thrift shopping. I'll look for shirts that are soft to this day. And I'll be like, all right, Phoenix, what do you think? And it'll fit him perfectly. He's like, oh, I like this. It's so like shirts have to be soft. Socks have to be soft. He doesn't mind jeans, but like he's so picky about certain things, his sensory issues. As he's gotten older, it's gotten much, much better. And he is not as sensitive now, but oh man, growing up, he was a nightmare. So I wanted Nicolina to give her story. I know she said she was going to answer the door. I do want to get back to the case though, because I'm gonna
hop down. Thank you for having me up here.
Hold on. The reason I brought you up, we didn't even get to. But what I wanted to say, thank you. You get a lot of shit just like I do. And when I heard that story, I was like, I have earned so much respect for this woman, because I think that's not just because I'm an anti-vaxxer, but your story, the tenacity, the taking them to court, that's admirable. And you earned a lot of respect from me and a lot of people I know for that. And I wanted to tell you that personally. Secondly, what can give insight on Suboxone or anything to add to what Allie said, because you do have experience, in it.
Well, medicated assisted treatment has its pros and its cons. Okay, so Suboxone clearly doesn't have fentanyl risk to it, like someone using heroin.
Okay.
The downfall is that what's going on is that the brain isn't shutting off those opiate receptors that have already been activated by addiction. It is the lesser of two evils, but it is what I understand from what I have read, what others have shared, that coming off of Suboxone is harder than coming off of heroin.
But Suboxone can't. Do you go through physical withdrawals from Suboxone?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
That's what I hear. I hear that. Yes, you do. If it was me and I had to make a decision between Suboxone and methadone, I would be choosing methadone. That is easier to come off of when you are ready to come off of it. Sadly, we have this epidemic, and this is the fault of the healthcare system and pharmaceutical companies. And now we're still in the same cycle. So we rip the rug out from underneath patients that were addicted to opiates without properly weaning them off. And these people are seeking out street drugs. So then now we've got street drugs, and these people want to come off the street drugs. And now we're back to the pharmaceutical industry making billions of dollars with Suboxone, because you just can't stop. It's not a short-term treatment. Unfortunately, I think that it's overprescribed in a lot of cases, to the point where instead of doing one strip a day, we're seeing people doing 3 strips a day, which the half-life is very long on Suboxone. So trying to come off of Suboxone is very hard, and it's going to take a very disciplined and driven individual to want to start slowly cutting down, maybe by a half a film a day for a month. The next month, cut it down another half of a strip. Then, you know what I mean? And you do it in a month to month increments. Anywhere from 21 days to 28 days is a good amount to slowly take yourself off of any substance that is addictive, because that allows your brain to start turning off those receptors, and you're not going to experience the same type of withdrawal if they were just going to rip the rug out from under you and say, we're not prescribing anymore. You know what I mean?
But do you have to come off of it? Like, for example, I keep relating Suboxone to heroin addicts like Adderall is to speeders. But I'll be on Adderall to the day I die, and that's just it. Like, I'm not trying to come off of it. I can't come off of it. It keeps me sane, and it's just part of who it.
A lot of people. So a lot of people that have undiagnosed ADD and ADHD will find themselves in the throes of addiction because of their poor impulse control and the lack of being diagnosed and treated for that. So that usually starts when we're in our teenage years, and when we're not diagnosed and treated for that ADD/ADHD, then you see the more riskier behaviors, the drug addiction, the slowing down. You want to slow your mind down. Now, I got on Adderall. I was diagnosed as a child. My mom refused to allow me to get on any type of medications because there was stigma to it, just like with any mental health issue. Or so I finally went through another neurocog. I started taking Adderall. I did Adderall, once a day if I was on the extended release. Then I had to be switched to IR, which was twice a day. And I think I was at like 20 milligrams a day total, but I had to come off of it because my blood pressure was high. I have been off of Adderall for 2 years, and I am very serious about going back on it because my blood pressure is under control with medication. Because I do see the difference in myself when I'm medicated versus unmedicated. I do have poor impulse control when I'm pissed. Adderall was a lifesaver for me professionally because I could stay on task, and it didn't speed me up. It slowed me down. People are like, well, how do you sleep on it? Exactly. I was like, I could take a 20 milligram Adderall at 10 o'clock at night, and I'm going to be snoring at midnight. Okay. It has the opposite effects. It doesn't speed me up. It slows me down. My synapses in my brain aren't misfiring and rapid firing. And you know what I mean? So I think that it's better to treat with stimulants than have that person end up into the throes of addiction because they're trying to slow their mind down.
And it's funny that you said that, because when it was, I think it was Dayton, they wanted to give him ADHD meds when he was younger. And I said, no, because I'm an addict. His dad's an addict. I said, we both take Adderall. I don't see where this is going to turn out good, giving an addict, an addict kid drugs. And they said, you and your husband are probably both on Adderall because nobody prescribed it when you were young because it didn't exist when you were young. And I was like, oh, yes, Yarn. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Well, and not medicating your child, they're going to have the struggles in school from an academic standpoint. They're going to have behavioral issues. My oldest son, sadly, he's going to be 27 this year. He got off of his Adderall, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, and he's finding himself in trouble a lot. He's the speeding tickets. He went to jail for street racing, because he has such poor impulse control unmedicated, but he doesn't like the way it makes him feel because it calms him down. And Unfortunately, he's an adult and he has to have the consequences of his actions. And I can only try to continue to guide him and say, please go back to your doctor. Please get back on your Adderall. Maybe find a lower dose that doesn't make you feel so fatigued and sluggish, but you always have to manipulate your medications. When I started out on Adderall, it was 15 milligrams extended release. And I'll tell you what, I had a bad side effect to it. I was very labile. I was crying all the time. And it was actually the pharmacist tech where I'd get my medications. I know her personally. And she reached out to me one day on Facebook and said, I think you might be having a side effect, and that's why you're feeling this way. Have Dr. Huff put you on instant release. So I did, and holy moly, did I feel better. I couldn't take the
it's
extended
also
release.
It also has to
What's
do
that?
with the genetics, or if
Yep.
it's name brand. If it also has to do with genetic or name brand. But real quick, a troll just came in here and said something, and I'm going to end this part of the conversation after I tell the story, just to satisfy the troll. And I'll explain why I'm even addressing this troll. So I got on Adderall many years ago by total chance, because my addict boyfriend said, hey, you got to check this out. You got to see.
And you
these
tried
pills
it and you felt good, didn't you?
Hell yeah. So I
Yep.
was like, all right, let's take some. So me and my addict husband, ex-husband, boyfriend, whatever you want to call him, Dayton's dad, started taking these pills. He wasn't taking them, so we were taking them. And then years later, I wouldn't say a year later, I would say about a year later, he wasn't on them anymore. I was like, Brad, where are we getting these drugs from? He's like, well, you go to the doctor and, this is what you have to do. Okay. So I faked it. We got pills. Well, fast forward 5, 6, 7 years later, and I'm in a custody fight with him. And I go to the shrink that I was seeing, and he's doing an analogy, and he writes on the form, severe case of ADD. And I'm like, what? I was like, since when do I have ADHD? And the therapist said, oh, you show lots of signs of pretty intense ADHD, ADD. I was like, wow, I do. I was like, I can't believe what started out as nothing, started out as just being an addict. Actually, I really do have ADHD. So a
And you
troll
can-
is in here thinking this is a big deal. I have no problem with this story. Like these people are so dumb.
Just know that you can also have acquired ADD, ADHD from traumatic brain injuries. That can also happen. If you were in an accident, you've had some sort of injury to the head that was traumatic, you can end up becoming ADHD because of that injury to the brain. So it's not just something that happens in childhood, it can happen later on in life as well.
Yeah,
Usually a doctor, like a psychiatrist,
psychiatrist.
a psychiatrist usually does the diagnosis, or a psychologist. You go through neurocognitive testing. That's now mandated and required for any adult being put on a stimulant, unless you have like narcolepsy, or let's say you have multiple sclerosis, and the medications that you're on, they will add a stimulant to help with energy. So yes, that as well, Allie. Allie, you are absolutely spot on. Absolutely. And Chronicles of the Shady is absolutely right. There are so many genetic tests now for antidepressants, all sorts of medications, that they do this genetic testing and they determine what medications are going to work for you, so that you don't have to go through the long trial and error. And that just costs more money for the patient and the insurance company. So those are almost considered standard of care now, those genetic tests, and most insurance companies will pay for them because it is a money saver in the end. So, but I am going to drop down. I've got to get around and go pick Maggie up from school here in a little bit.
Dear.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So now that we got sidetracked, let's get back on track. But to the troll, just want to let you know, why you even remember my life this much, I don't know, but it's pretty sad. Thank you that I own you, and everyone else that comes in here that likes to talk about me so much. I own you, and I own that. So thank you. Soon I'm going to start charging you guys rent. So back to Donna. All right. We did get hella sidetracked, but that's okay. It happens sometimes. It's all good. So the update, let me give you the update that's been on the screen for a while. The person arrested yesterday very nearby was Donna went missing, did have his home surrounded by police yesterday, as well as his front door kicked in. We don't know why, though. He was arrested by the Missouri State Police. I'm hearing reports that he may have been the person that found Donna's bag initially. That's where I believe it came from. That is not confirmed by police, but instead police close to the case, people close to the case. I'm assuming family. I am working extremely hard to get any official word on this, but it does look like this individual was arrested in the Donna Eye case. I will try to confirm if he was the individual that found the bag belonging to Donna in the woods or not. I'm getting several unconfirmed but reliable reports that there was an arrest in the recent Donna Eye case. 44-year-old Donna missing for over a week after a security guard at the Washington County Hospital in Missouri called a deputy to come pick Donna up from the waiting room. Donna was dropped off by the deputy in the remote woods a mile from her brother's house in Potosi, Missouri. During my investigation, several people in the area gave us a man's name. They believed he was involved because they said he lives in the area. And they also explained he had a past of serious offenses. Slightly alarming, we were made aware he was watching our live video and not commenting. So that's pretty intense that people were giving this guy's name, which again leads me back to my original theory that not only was the cop wasn't familiar with him, but that their paths crossed. I am 100% convinced of this because the more I think about it, there's no way that he just happened to pass and saw this lady in the road in the middle of the night in the middle of the woods. The odds of that are like slim to none. But if he was in his car and the cop was in her car and the cop, oh, this is my third video on it, Melissa. So you probably may want to go back to the first one to fill in. But if the cop dropped her off randomly, I just don't see it happening. I can't for the life of me see where a cop would randomly drop off the middle of the woods, not going up to the door unless there was somebody there to pick her up. And if I'm wrong and nobody was there to pick her up and this cop just dropped her off in the middle of the woods, then the cop deserves to be in prison. But I don't think that's the case. I don't know why I don't think that's the case. I just don't. Now, there's one other guy that I've seen. I think his name is AH or something. He's an ex-felon who started one of the Facebook groups. I think he lives in the area. He's the only one I've seen talk about it. I haven't heard anybody else talk about it. And I don't know why. I think the case is fascinating. I even said I wasn't coming back to true crime unless I found a case that like blew me away. And this case blew me away. I can't for the life of me understand how it all went down, why it all went down, that people would do this and just a cop would just drop this woman off in the middle of the woods, not even bring her to the house. Why the cop was even called in the first place. Now, what Katie told me this morning, though, they don't have any cabs in the area. There's no cabs. But again, why wouldn't they call the brother? Why wouldn't they call the family? Why wouldn't she call somebody? She was sitting in the lobby. Why was she bothering the security guard so much that he had to get her out? Why didn't they just call someone? And from what I've seen from the brother and sister-in-law, she was very loved. It wasn't like she was some drug addict that the family wanted no part of. You know, believe me, I've scouted their Facebooks. I've tried to get an insight of who all her friends were, who she lived with. Like, I really have delved deep into this. Met some great people, Katie being one of them. And usually you don't meet cool people on Facebook groups. But the fact that I've done all this research on this, and she really was very loved. I 100% believe her brother when he said if they would have told us she was being discharged, we would have come get her or we would have stayed with her. But they thought that she was going to be admitted, and they spoke to her, and nobody told them that she was being discharged. I believe him. I've seen it. So I absolutely believe what he's saying to be true. And her sister-in-law seems like a wonderful person. I mean, they really like, this isn't, she was an addict, we don't like her, we'll just send her on her way. That's not what I've seen from this family. And I really don't get the feeling that any of them are lying. That I don't get the feeling that they would have just dismissed her. I mean, she was living with the sister-in-law for the last 4 months. Donna was also a parent. So I don't think Donna's parents are alive. I might be wrong. I don't remember. But it looked like, you know, the family was looking out for her. And the brother would have done anything for her. And the sister-in-law would have done anything for her. So, you know, and she wasn't a danger to anybody because she was living with their kids. And in all the pictures, she seemed very hands-on, you know, that nobody was afraid to leave her. So the fact that I do believe that they did not know she was being discharged, because again, I believe they would have gone and got her or even stayed with her. We all know nobody wants to ever sit in an emergency room. And believe me, if I could drop my kids off there, that's fine. I would, and not stay with them. Nobody wants to sit in an emergency room. And if you know you're going to get, you know, admitted, because remember, they took her by hospital. They do have the brother, sister-in-law, they have young kids. So it's not as if they could just pick up and leave their young kids alone. So she probably said, don't worry, I'm going to be admitted or I'm going to stay at the hospital. So don't come with us. And it was also bad weather. So there's so many factors, but, you know, I've seen in the Facebook groups that, oh, the family knew and the brother knew. No, I don't believe that. I do believe the brother 100%. So exactly, Melissa. So she had a good support system. She had a loving family. She had a ton of supportive people looking for her, you know, trying to make this go viral. They never gave up on her. They, you know, the sister-in-law had commented that she was contacting, you know, news place after news place because she was going to make this story go viral because it wasn't big enough. Nobody was covering it. So this is an active, not, you know, oh, she was an ex, you know, she was an addict, so we just dismiss her, or we didn't really care. You know what I mean? So that's why when I see this other stuff, no, I tend to believe the brother. I tend to believe that everything he's saying in the sister-in-law is true. So again, I just think the cop made a big mistake by letting her go into another car. What happened after that? We don't know. We don't know. We don't know where she was for 8 days. We don't know why they had a search warrant of this guy. We don't know anything. And unfortunately, we may never know. We don't know why come to think of it, if this reporter is right, yeah, the whole community came together to search for her 100%. But if this investigator is right, and I do believe I haven't found her wrong yet, but a lot of people came forward and gave the investigators, the police, the family, this guy's name. That's probably why they had a search warrant for his property. They may have done that as a, just to cross all T's and dot all I's. So that's why I'm thinking they did have the search warrant. It was the perfect storm of bad circumstances. Absolutely. 100%. There may be answers we're never going to get. We may not get all the answers. Right now, they can't charge him with her murder, but she was on the property. Hopefully, with enough pressure, we get all the answers. Hopefully. We don't know for sure, but we can only hope. We can only hope that we get the answers. Yes. Hold on. It's David Kleekamp, age 41. And there he is, 117, holding up a big old sign. It's crazy. Now, what he's technically charged with as of now is unlawful use of a weapon, possession ×2, unlawful possession of drug paraphernalia, cash only bond $75,000, expired plates $100, operating main vehicle without maintaining financial responsibility, cash only bond $100, resisting arrest $100, and fail to yield to emergency vehicle sounding audible siren $100. Now, what scares me, $75,000 is not a high bond in today's day and age. Yeah, could I come up with it? No, but if you own a truck, you can, or a house, even a trailer, you can get more than, you could second mortgage it for $75,000. That's what bothers me, because if this man gets out and does something to himself, nobody's ever going to get an answer. And in my opinion, that's the scariest part about having someone facing life with nothing to lose. Being on the outside is, once you're on the outside, that's it. And you could take your own life, and guess what? You're done. That's it. You're never going to get an answer. It's one of my biggest fears. Crazy, right? So that is what I have for you, beautiful people. I went way overhead. It's now 2 hours. But I got to get the house ready for 7 teenage boys. Yay, go me. I think I'm going to leave. But yeah, it's Dayton's turn to host. And since the twins aren't here anymore, well, at least not for now, they have 2 bedrooms. So Dayton's like, yeah, we got room now. So yeah, so I got to get snacks and all that stuff. But I want to thank everyone for being here. Again, I know this got totally sidetracked, but it's a conversation that kind of fit in with the topic. So again, thank everyone for being here. Like I said, my channel's taken a new direction. I still do not have an answer yet. I know I said I wasn't getting back into true crime until I had some answers, but this case took me by surprise. And this, it's just one of those cases that got me very interested. And I don't know. It's just wild. I want to thank Allie Wrights for coming up. I want to thank Nicolina for coming up. Great panel guest. You guys are welcome anytime. Clean a house so a bunch of teenage boys can wreck it. Laura, the thing is, half of the kids that are coming are like so super rich, and have like these massive mansions with maids and everything. Yeah, I can't compare, but we can try. We can try. Dayton said one of his friends' rooms, one of the guys that's coming, his room is like as big as half our house. He's like, Mom, it's so big. So yeah. But you're welcome, Barbara. Lock the fridge. No shit. I got to tell you guys real quick. Last time some of these kids were here, it was in the summer. And I don't know. I guess pizza wasn't enough. And 2 of them ended up walking to the store at 5 o'clock in the morning. They got back. I heard it on the ring cam. They got back. I was like, are you 2 fucking nuts? I was like, what if something happened to you? That your parents would kill me. Oh yeah, we didn't think of that. Oh my God. So this time they're getting locked in. But yeah, crazy. But I will see you beautiful people tomorrow. Maybe I'll do some lives on them. But yeah, I gotta run to the store again. All candles will be mailed out Monday. Well, not all, but the ones up until the ones that should have been mailed out last week. Ones that were ordered last week, obviously they're not ready yet, but any candle that should have been mailed out is going in the mail Monday. You got my word. All right. That goes for Annie, Patreons, anybody. So, all right. I will see you beautiful people later. I've been working on the website. So you're going to see some Valentine stuff up there. I've been changing a couple things. It takes me forever to update it, but I'm adding new scents. So don't forget, order your candles, and I will see you beautiful people tomorrow. All right. Or maybe tonight. Who knows? Bye. Yeah, Melissa, anybody who wants to catch up on the case, I got this was my 3rd video on it. It goes into details, and I will see you guys later.